and economic situation, federal government to counter saboteurs. On aviation, federal government unveils hotel at Abuja Airport. Custom duties, CBN direct use of official forex rate. Inflation, noodles price surged to 17,500. And on diplomacy, Qatari denies Tinubu visa. And on ECOWAS lifts ban on sanctioned member states. Do not go away. When I come back from this break, I introduce you to my guests.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. With me on the show today is Honorable Olaka Olaka. Honorable Olaka Olaka is a socio-political analyst. Good morning, Honorable, and welcome to Atlantic Blowout.
Good morning, viewers.
It's a pleasure to have you today, sir.
Pleasure's mine.
And on to the story. Troops of the Nigerian Army have seized about 1 million liters of crude oil believed to have been stolen from the wellheads in Rivers State. Brigadier General A.D. Effiong, Commander 6th Division Garrison, Nigerian Army, Port Harcourt, disclosed this on Saturday when he led journalists on a tour of illegal bunkering sites in Odagwa community in Eche, Rivers State. He said that troops discovered the crude oil stored in 8 large reservoirs following a tip-off about the operation of illegal refineries in a dense forest in the area. The tip-off indicated that after we had destroyed illegal refineries around the area previously, the oil thieves regrouped and re-established another site opposite the former location. We found 8 reservoirs and 5 cooking pots at the new site, with each reservoir having a minimum of 100,000 liters of stolen crude oil. Altogether, the reservoirs at the site hold no less than 1 million liters of stolen crude oil awaiting to be refined into diesel, he said. Now, Honorable Olaka, you're from Rivers State,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, I am.
And you are well aware of the situation with oil bunkering in the States. Without much ado, I want to get your perspective on this.
Oh, well, you see, sometimes I decide not to make comments, you know, because when I see headlines like this, I feel somebody somewhere just want to be in the news. You may be wondering why.
Yeah, why did you say so?
Because this is not the first time we're hearing, this is not the second, it's a countless reappearance and reoccurring of this kind of headline. so number of barrels, so number of liters, 1,000 liters, have been discovered and recovered. They have been recovered, and where have they been taken to? They've been recovered. Oil bunkering sites, illegal oil bunkering sites have been invaded and destroyed. Where are the people who were perpetrating these acts? The refiners, the buyers, the sellers, the distributors, the people who give them the undercover, the suppliers, the drivers, the truck, and all the equipment. How do they fly to those bush, those forest sites? And look, after the recovering, what next? What do they do with the recovered products? Crude is what we're talking about here. And so you come up and tell us, oh, it is sad, though, to know that this valuable treasure, this very scarce resource, but God had made it available for us here, is passing through this level of sabotage. And so I do not feel there's anything to celebrate. I do not feel there's anything to celebrate when I hear that these things have been. And if there is something that should make us celebrate, is that these recovered products have been sent to the refinery. And they have been later produced. And then we can have all the byproducts that comes from crude to enable me not to pay the kind of amount I pay to get to ATMs to do this money. And every other Nigerian who is in need of the products that comes from the refined end of the crude. Let me stop here now.
Okay. Now, when you look critically, you find out that these people that perpetrate this act move their equipment from point A to point B.
Okay.
And in Rivers State, there is police checkpoints in almost every kilometer you drive past.
That's good.
Even in the rural areas, there, you see police checkpoints, you see JTF checkpoints, you see army checkpoints, you even see local vigilantes. They have their checkpoints as well.
Yeah.
The question is, how are these people able to maneuver all these checkpoints? If you're moving from Eche, let's use Eche for example. If you're traveling, especially since East West Road is under construction, a lot of drivers, road users and motorists, they divert through Eche if they are going to Aba, Umuahia, Enugu, as the case may be. So now, because of the number of motorists that ply that road, you realize that the checkpoints on that Eche road has increased. Now the question is, with the level of activity on that road, how are these people able to move these products? Number one, how are they able to move these equipments they use in refining these products? Number two, after they are done, how are their buyers able to move these products from point A to point B, crossing over 20 checkpoints within Eche and outside Eche? How is that possible?
Oh, okay. This is why I say there is, for me, there's nothing new and there's nothing to celebrate. There seems to be some kind of synergy between those who are supposed to check. Because now, there's a reason for the checkpoints. The reason is to check any product or movement of anything illegal in and out of a particular territory. Now we're talking about Rivers State. The reason is to also, in case there is any illegal activities, not just limited to the oil bunkering, maybe kidnap case and all of that, maybe robbery cases, the police should be able to intercept. At a checkpoint, they should, do a search. What's in this vehicle? But unfortunately, what we find is the policeman simply bringing out his hand. And the driver would already know what to do. Look, the driver, before he gets to that point, or whoever is supposed to give the money, will simply go down and do a tip-up. Sometimes the checkpoint is merely a cosmetic arrangement where some persons will just be on the road, and then there is an oga, so to say, who is seated somewhere. An oga that is seated somewhere. And then you say, go and see him. There is either a motor boy, an assistant operator or something, will just go and settle. And it moves. By the time they get to the next checkpoint, the same thing happens. And by the time they get, it keeps on going on. Look, there are certain checkpoints you get to. Actually, there are security agencies. But you will see a mufti, somebody in mufti, who has been probably arranged and had been detailed
Sometimes
to
civilians.
do. Civilians have been detailed to do such a job. And the person will just come like an ordinary person. How far now? And do a handshake. In course of a handshake, money has exchanged hand or something has been given. And then you see them moving. I like to say that the issue of what happened, we're using a chain, for instance. It is not limited to a chain. This checkpoint has spread all over the state. Recall that this recovery is about River State now. Few days back, I think about 4 days ago, one Honorable Fubara Ohaka was discharged and acquitted by the Federal High Court that's been free of six count charges that is related to illegal bunkering and all of that. That court case had lasted in, I think, since about 2002 or thereabout, into 2001, 2002. And now that his arrest by the DSS, including detention and then being charged to court, came after the local government chairman of MOA, Honorable Chidi Lloyd, went with some security agencies to some sites that were identified as illegal bunkering sites. They discovered some cooking pots, boiling pots, all of the things and that amount to these, all of the activities. And then after that, the former governor of the state, Nyesom Wike, now Minister of FCT, went with the local government chairman to some of these sites, and names were mentioned. By the next 2-3 weeks or thereabouts, Ohaka was arrested. Now, today, the court has discharged him. The court has declared that he is free. He didn't do that. And that goes to tell you, but during his arrest and detention, questions were asked and raised. How did this level of equipment, these things that were displayed in the media, these pictures that we saw coming from the forest, just like what is being displayed now, how did they get into the forest? There should be welders, there would be pipe fitters, there would be electricians and electrical engineers who will do all of this job. Look, there should be a whole lot of, there should be plumbers that will be engaged, and so much of professionalism will be put in place for such an operation to take place. In fact, it's a modular refinery, so to say. Although at the moment it hasn't been, confirmed or put to use or approved by the government. But for such a structure to be put on ground for an operation like that, people got involved. So the question was, when all of this was happening in that local government, were they doing it at night? Were they doing it in the morning? That's there. Eleme local governments, where we have the NNPC, and so many pipelines, outlets, and all of that operations that has to do with oil. The local government chairman of Eleme local government, Chief Honorable Barolo Matolo, also embarked on a similar exercise. In fact, at a point, it became like every local government chairman had to do what he has to do to show that we were checking. After that operation, and after that show, beautiful show, act of courage, Because if they ask you to go to that forest, Laurentia, you cannot find your way there. When you watch the video, as it's being displayed in the news, when the soldiers are trying to find their way into that forest, you will imagine how people get to that place. Now, the local government chairman and the officials and all the security agencies went in there. That's quite bravery and commendable. But after that, what next? Have there been anybody who has been caught, convicted, proper investigation done, and then we know who had aided this? Are we sure even the security agencies who are now in the news trying to probably get our accolade and our praisers that they are doing well? Can I completely embark on such operation without the security backup?
How were they able to do all this, transport these equipments, to and fro, and transport finished or products to and fro under the nose of several checkpoints?
Good. And so I want to believe that the authorities, let's assume this, the DPO, the area commanders, the deputy area commanders are not seen. There is a police commissioner. There are commanders of the DSS and the Civil Defense Corps whose duty is even directly involved on this.
NSCDC.
Yes. So now, the joint task force, as they come together, the naval commander and all of that, are there no reports? Don't they query, don't they do some kind of checking the checkers? I don't know nothing like that. I think that's where we're having these issues. Because when you come back today and tell us that you have recovered 100 or 1 million thousand liters of crude, and then after the news, within few hours or 2 days or thereabout, as the case may be, that news slides and another one comes up. I want to believe that somebody is actually benefiting from these products that have been seized.
Powers that be?
Yeah, I want to believe that someone somewhere, there is a sabotage. Because those products, did it go back to refinery? Did it go back to refinery? Is there a reservoir? Is there a government-owned tank farm where they dump or where they store recovered crude oil? Where is it existing in Rivers State? Where is the location that we can be sure that by the time the turnaround maintenance in NNPC is done, as the government proposed, they can easily go there and get the recovered products back to refinery so that we can get Nigeria working?
Okay, interesting. Now, on modular refineries, there have been calls to the government to, incorporate, a lot of these illegal bunkering sites. When you look at the complex technology, that goes into refining these products, when you look at the extent these people have gone, into refining crude oil. Now, there have been a lot of calls for governments to find a way to absorb these people into the system. These modular refineries, these illegal bunkering sites that have this complicated system of operation, find out what they are doing to make this work when federal-owned and state-owned refineries are simply shut down. Find out what they are doing to make this work, absorb them into the system, and have them properly regulated in order to generate funds. Is this feasible? Is this called by some persons, especially in Rivers State? Does it make sense?
Yes, because I want to let me join those that have been making that call, because let me do that officially on TV now. I've also been doing that.
Okay.
That there is a need for government to get involved. There is no need pretending over in the local palace it is said that you can't hide pregnancy with bare hands. for in 9 months, it will certainly come out. Look, these guys have got some techniques to illegally refine their products from crude into diesel and fuel or PMS and other products, kerosene and all of that. It means they actually have some technical know-how. And they will be needing, first, the government to get involved, get these persons. How, and then know where they got these ideas. I don't want to believe that our graduates who were trained by our universities around are the one actually bringing the knowledge they got from the university into those camps. I don't know if the owners of those dump or those cooking sites usually wait at convocation arenas and then they look for the best graduating students, just like Uniport just finished the convocation yesterday and day before yesterday, 23rd, 24th. And so I was looking out. We were supposed to see those who are trying to get the best graduating students of engineering.
Okay.
And then, man, we have some job for you. Can you go with us to a dump site, maybe in a chip? Let's go and do. So, now, if that's not the case, could it be that our graduates have been applying? There's a process of application. They send their CV and they are interviewed. And after that, they get employed. Mm-hmm. If that is not the case, then who gave them this knowledge? How did they come about it? Could it be that because of unemployment, the engineering students or the graduates of chemical engineer, went in to create a job for themselves? Could that be? Could it also be illiterate? Could it? Yes. Could it also be that by reason of need, while trying to adapt to the societal hardship and all of that, illiterates must have discovered how to bring all of this into use, like our forefathers discovered fire with stone. By the use of... Could it also be a function of some laid-off staff of this oil servicing company? Probably. Who probably are skilled in things like pipeline welding and all of that. And maybe retired heads of departments, retired staff of these big oil giants. Could it be those who have worked and have gathered these experiences? Now government needs to know. If government steps in, while I want to join other callers to prevail on government, to ask that government gets involved, it's so that when government goes in, send experts who can get this information rightly, and not necessarily by declaring that army impound 1 million and all of that. We should work by information. They get down and bring in this information, source them. And the government will give them, put them in the proper place. Put these men in the proper place. Because I think the wrong people are the ones actually handling the refinery. So the wrong people are at the right place, and the right people are at the wrong place, if you ask me to say. What I mean is, the wrong people are the one in NNPC. Well, the right persons are that's why we are not getting anything from NNPC. Now, the right people who are supposed to do, who have this key and prerequisite and all of that to do this one, they are rather in the bush. And then they are being branded as illegal refiners. But they are doing that illegally. Now, illegal refiners are producing products that can move our vehicles, products that can power our generating sets, products that we can use. They are branded illegal. Government need to legalize that. Because it's actually we're actually having a result from them. And people are working. People are being engaged. But at the moment, it is not legalized, I am calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, do something about this illegal refinery. And let's have the modular refineries functioning side by side with whatever government is doing. I want to give us an instance. You see, if you go to some of the teaching hospitals and government established hospitals, let me use that as an example, you find out that sometimes if you have ever had a patient or have a loved one that has been taken to a clinic, or you have gone there by yourself, you will see a failed system. Personally, I don't go to government hospitals. I prefer to go to private clinics.
And pay higher?
Yes, I pay high. I get high quality attention, services, and treatments.
Okay.
Okay, and then I get my result. You have an ailment that by reason of time and timing, it becomes aggravated. And then I go to a general hospital, and you should be attended to in a matter of an hour. But before you get a form or you get a card to register, you have spent 3 hours sitting on the queue. And then for the private clinic, I could simply dial the number of my doctor, and they will send a driver to come pick me at home. And while they are driving me at home, the vehicle could be improvised ambulance, because the medical personnel or the team that will come to pick me will start attending to me before we get there. Yes, I'm going to pay high, but what can I use in quantifying or comparing with life? Now, what am I saying? The modular refinery in this case should represent the private clinics. Yes, the modular refinery should represent. This is in a failed system. We wouldn't be saying this if our institutions are serving the purpose of the institution, as it were. We wouldn't be talking about alternative refineries. But we have to go by this because we're evolving, we're developing. And if we have to develop, and when we see things happening around us, there should be a reason for some kind of adjustment. Even the Constitution of the Federal Republic desires some kind of amendment.
Okay, before we move to the Constitution of the Federal Republic, let's go over to Akwa Ibom State. A civil society organization in Akwa Ibom State, Tax, Justice and Governance Platform Forum, has raised the alarm over a surge in debt profile of the state government. Addressing a press conference in Uyo on Saturday, the chairman of the forum, Mr. Harry Udo, noted that data from the Debt Management Office reveals an alarming increase from 215.99 billion naira in 2019 to 347.75 billion naira in 2023, highlighting a 61.1% rise in just 4 years. According to the statement, in recent times, Akwa Ibom State has witnessed a concerning surge in its debt profile. Data from DMO reveals an alarming increase from 215.99 billion naira in 2019 to 347.75 billion naira in 2023. This escalation prompts viral discussions regarding financial sustainability and responsible governance. The burgeoning debt of Akwa Ibom State poses grave implications for tax justice. Heightened debt burden may spur regressive tax policies, disproportionately affecting low-income residents and exacerbating socio-economic disparities. Moreover, opacity in financial management jeopardizes public trust in governance stewardship. Now, this is coming in the heels of the inflation ongoing. A civil society organization has come out to cry out about the alarming rise in debt of Akwa Ibom State. Now, before we come to the nitty-gritty of this whole thing, the question when I read this that came to my mind was, how did this state get to this point? Now, this is just Akwa Ibom State. Other states have not reviewed their debt profile yet.
Yeah.
This is just Akwa Ibom State, and it's alarming how neck deep, or let me still use the word, the debt profile that Akwa Ibom State has incurred. But then, before we get to the nitty-gritty, let me get your perspective on it.
It's quite unfortunate that we have a failed system. What are we borrowing for? What did Akwa Ibom states borrow the money for? Did the states borrow for investments? And if the states borrowed for investments, what is the turnover? What is it that the state had been able to get from the debt, the borrowing? When you talk about accountability, the fact that corruption has eaten up the system, there seems not to be any check. And that's why you can see this high level of increase, 61% difference between 2019 and 2023 to 2024. 61% increase. It's just I think if there is anything that we need to do a turnaround.
Now, is this as a result of, state governments relying on the federal for monthly allocation? Perhaps if state governments are generating their own funds, do you think it will be a different story altogether? Because literally every state governor will come out to tell you that he inherited debts from the predecessor. So the question is it as a result of, is this allocations coming to the states from federal? Does it make the states unable to do the right thing?
Okay, first I was going to call Akwa Ibom one of the oil producing states.
Okay.
But it seemed a bit heavy for me.
Why?
That's why I didn't want to use that word. So if Akwa Ibom state is one of the oil producing states, then we should, or the Akwa Ibom states should have enough as a result of the oil production. A state that is not productive, but merely bearing the name. A state that is not producing but bearing the name would definitely incur debt. Because the state is not generating. The state is consuming. And so you keep on consuming, like you said, the federal allocations come, and somehow it's either mismanaged or looted, or kind of, and it is not reinvested. It goes somewhere other than what should be. And then the following months, we wait for the federal to bring again. No production. That's where, so the same, we know, you continue to get the same results because the same formula is being applied. And that's why the debt rates keep on increasing. When this government is done and the new government probably takes over, you will hear the blame game.
Now, you spoke about Akwa Ibom State being one of the oil-producing states.
Yes.
And, there has been call over time for government to diversify its source of income, that diversify economically, so that we don't keep having these crunches that we have. Now, if Akwa Ibom is an oil-producing state, aside from being an oil-producing state, aren't there other means of internally generating? Every state generates revenue, no matter how big or little, they generate revenue. Now, the question is, aside from being an oil-producing state, is it lack of investment the states either investing or diversifying is means of generating revenue? Because I want to understand why this debt profile is at a high.
Okay, diversification could have been a way out. Akwa Ibom, aside being oil-producing state, Akwa Ibom is richly endowed. Akwa Ibom has vast land.
Arable land.
Very, very. And the palm oil is one resource that is, available, very visibly available in Akwa Ibom. There is hardly no states in the Niger Delta, let me use that, where you find people who deal with the oil palm and production, harvesting and production and all of that. And you won't find the Akwa Ibomites being consulted, contacted or contracted to handle the palm. Akwa Ibom State has the capacity to mechanize palm oil production, Akwa Ibom, and can service Nigeria and even Africa from Akwa Ibom. And that's enough. That alone is enough to make Akwa Ibom stay off any list that will come that has to do with debt profile.
Now, is this a case of high cost of governance, or is it a case of the government of Akwa Ibom State not having their priorities right?
I may not be in the position to really say that the government has not set their priority right. Maybe that's not the interests of the leadership of the government at the moment. Maybe. But if you ask me, if you talk about high cost of governance, I will agree with you. High cost of governance, because those in government would want all the allowances and everything it takes the government official to be comfortable to be in place. And so when all of this is happening, you agree with me that there's going to be a problem. Now, from the head, when it is spoiled, in the African proverb, my people would say, when the head of a fish is bad, what more will you do with the other parts? The Senate President, I'm not being personal here now, the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Akpabio, Senator Akpabio, once upon a time sent prayers to the male bosses of the senators. And he asked them on the floor to confirm that prayers had been sent to their male bosses. And the Senate President comes from Akwa Ibom and has been a former senator and former governor of the state. Would I be making any mistake if I say there is a standard that had been set? Prayers are being sent to male bosses of the government officials of Akwa Ibom State. Most probably. And so, they are interested in receiving whatever is in the male bosses, as against using what the government has, to reinvest, as against diversification of the economy, as against sourcing for alternative means of generating funds in relation to the available resources that the state is richly endowed with.
Okay, what do you think, what's the impact of this whole situation on the residents and the people of Akwa Ibom State?
First, very high rate of poverty
on
the people of Akwa Ibom. You know, hunger and starvation will be very visible when there is no means of livelihood. When there is no money in circulation and you are indebted. The state is indebted, highly indebted. And so, in some cases, salaries will be owed. The workers may not get what they should get. Promotion of those that are due in the civil service, sometimes it will be delayed. Because naturally, your promotion should come with the allowances that follows. Pensions and gratuities should be paid as at when due. But all of this may not happen. And if it doesn't happen because the state is highly indebted, it now means that those who are supposed to be depending on those finances to cater for their wards and their families, they will have a direct impact of this. When I say high level of poverty, it will not just be about food. It will affect every aspect of the economy and even the society. There will not be enough in the health sector. There will not be enough in the educational sector. And then you see a lot of street nuisance. You see a lot of people hawking and struggling to survive. You see people going into a lot of menial labors and child trafficking. Have you noticed recently that there's virtually no household you try to check who is the house help or the man at the gate and is not an Ekaite or an Okon or an Akpan?
Wow.
Yes. Call me your house help. You will hear, Okon! This is the direct reflection of the kind of life that the people are living as a result of hardship because of failed governance.
Now, on the other hand, now let's look at possible solution to this whole situation. How do you think the government can come out of this, the state government can come out of this? Because if the state has been servicing these debts, it wouldn't have risen by 61.1% within a space of 5 years. It's scary. So add the next 5 years to it. If it's not properly serviced and the government is doing the same thing, Akwa Ibom State's debt profile may rise to close to 100%, and that's scary, a scary projection. What do you think the government can do to come out of this situation?
Okay, the government had to perform the duties of a government.
The Akwa Ibom State government.
The Akwa Ibom State government has to perform the duty of government. Look, the state was created or is created for a reason. The state is created to service the society. The state is created to meet the need and the demand of the people. So Akwa Ibom states need to start cutting down on the expenses of governance. Akwa Ibom State need to diversify their means of generating fund. The Akwa Ibom State had to build industries, their local industry. And then the Akwa Ibom State needs to promote her indigenous products. With this, the states can rebuff.
Now, one of the possible pitfalls of this whole situation might be double taxation of the citizens to ensure that they generate higher revenue or more revenue, either to service these debts, and that will also be heavy. It's just like putting a bag of rice on someone who is already carrying a bag of rice and the neck is crying out. Then when you put the extra bag of rice, the neck will collapse. Now, the the people of Akwa Ibom State are already groaning over. They are not exempt from the current economic realities in Nigeria. Now, when you have conversations with some of the indigenes, even the woman that sells in the market, the cry has always been double taxation. Could it be, if it's a move by the state government to generate more from an already poverty-stricken populace, do you think it's going to work? And then, how about attracting foreign investors? How easy can that be for the state government now that the cost of establishing even a small medium enterprise is high in Nigeria? And now that the economic trend of the country, occasioned by dollar volatility, has made it practically unfriendly for a lot of foreign companies and foreign investors to stay and invest in the country. Don't you think this is going to be a very huge challenge for Akwa Ibom State now that they are grappling with this level of debt profile?
Double taxation, trying to get the people to pay. I like to say that you can't give what you don't have. The illustration you gave, someone is already carrying a bag of rice and then you want to add another. It's going to be practically impossible. The taxpayers will start avoiding, if there is any possibility to avoid payment of tax. Some of the people
the taxpayers will start
avoiding if there is a way out. They'll start looking for shortcuts.
Okay.
Because if the business you're into is not producing, because of course there's no money in circulation, that is like the system is failing, you won't be able to generate because you have to pay as you generate. And so how do you pay the tax? Now, coming back to if the possibility of getting foreign investors to come to Akwa Ibom to probably establish, that is possible.
With the current economic reality?
With the current economic realities, the government officials are still buying exotic cars. With the current economic realities, the government functionaries are still flying private jets. With the current economic reality, the government, look, have you heard any day where any commissioner comes out to cry that, look, I'm not able to pay my children's school fees? When you get to the street to do to take your survey, you won't find any government official telling you how things are hard. Their children are still schooling abroad. Or those that are schooling in Nigeria, they're in private universities. And they're doing pretty well. So I want to say again that the government can invest. The government want to attract the foreign investors to come in. It is possible to do that. Because Akwa Ibom State has resources. They have the natural resources that can be tapped. When it is properly tapped, Akwa Ibom, other states can even depend on Akwa Ibom States.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Government absolves Tinubu of blame on economic crisis. When we come back from this break, we'll look at the story. Don't go away.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
people into the country illegally. That is amazing. You human trafficker.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN. From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Ekiti State Governor Mr. Biodun Oyebanji on Friday absolved President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of any blame over current economic situation in the country, saying the situation preceded his ascendancy to office. He, however, said the president is capable of fixing the current challenges if given ample time and necessary support. Governor Oyebanji stated this during the monthly evening of praise and worship program held at the Lady Jibowu Hall, Government House at Ado-Ekiti. He urged Nigerians to be patient with the federal government as the problem the country is facing had been there long before the president emerged. According to the governor, I just want to encourage us today as children of God to keep faith in God and to also amplify our prayers for Nigeria, for Ekiti State and for the president. I understand what we are going through, but the truth of the matter is that the president is not the cause of this crisis, but God has prepared him for a time like this. What he needs is our support, our prayers, our understanding and encouragement. I am just pleading with us that the president needs our help. He needs our prayers. We should not do anything to discourage him. We should thank God that we have a man of courage, a man God has prepared for a time like this. I believe in God that we'll get out of this problem, and when the time comes, the dividends of these reforms are unraveled. All of us will be alive. Now with me on the show, I've been joined by Mr. Mufasa Enyimosan. Mr. Mufasa is a social-political analyst. You're welcome to Atn Sunday, Mr. Mufasa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lorisha. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, Honorable Olaka, Oyebanji has come out to absolve Tinubu of blame on economic crisis. Now, there is a saying that usually goes that leadership trumps excuse. So, when President Tinubu was vying to be the president of Nigeria, he is not unaware of the peculiar problems that Nigerian economy has struggled with. He's not aware, he's not unaware. He's a seasoned politician. He has been in the corridors of power for years and decades, as the case may be. Now that he has become the president of Nigeria, and things have gotten far worse than they already are, Oyebanji has come out to absolve Tinubu of blame of any problem the country may be facing economically. But then, that's Oyebanji. You are a Nigerian, Honorable Olaka.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you also feel the impact of everything that is going on currently. What is your take on Oyebanji's statements?
Oh, my take is President Tinubu should not be blamed. Honorable Olaka should be blamed. Yes, I should be blamed because I am the president of Nigeria. Look, it's funny. I would like to ask, who was Tinubu during the tenure of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari? Tinubu was the national leader of APC. Mm-hmm. And is the governor telling us that Tinubu was not in Nigeria, or Tinubu was not in Africa, or Tinubu was not a part of the government of Muhammadu Buhari? As far as I'm concerned, Tinubu has even been a president before he became officially the president.
Why do you say so?
Why I say so? The ideologies of the All Progressive Congress was what brought in Muhammadu Buhari, and Tinubu was the national leader of that platform that brought in Buhari. And so the manifesto that was presented during the campaign of PMB as a then was not away from whatever Tinubu believes and holds. Look, before Tinubu became the president of Nigeria, just before the elections, recall that there was one of the broadcasts, one of the campaigns, where Tinubu even asked the government of the day to ensure that they try to control prices of commodities. And then today, someone is trying to tell us that the president, should be distant from the pains and the issues on ground. And so, I should be blamed. Nigerians should be blamed. The poor, suffering masses should be blamed either. Yes, now. The man who goes to the filling station and can't fuel his car should be blamed, because we are the cause of the inflation, while he should be prayed for. We have to be praying for him. It is shameful that at this level we are still doing blame and shifts of blame. We are still trying to protect our brother. We are still talking about he is my brother, therefore we should try to protect him. He is one of us. He is our father. He's our leader. We shouldn't talk to him. It could amount to disrespect. Is that the oath that the governors swore? Is it not to protect lives and property of the people? Now, in protecting lives, you now distance the president from the current hardship in the country?
Well, Mr. Mufasa, Mr. Olaka has said, raised some points. But importantly, he also mentioned the comments the president made when he was the APC national leader. And clearly, I have seen that video where he said one of the ways to help the economy was to reduce the purchasing power of the masses and then thereby slowing down the economy. Isn't that the current reality of Nigeria? Isn't that what has happened? And if that is what has happened, then why should President Tinubu be absolved of anything?
Thank you very much. I feel that we are just going around in circles, okay? I personally am not surprised to be hearing, these sorts of explanations and excuses coming from the governor of Ekiti State, His Excellency Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji. Like what Honorable Olaka rightly said, that you have sworn an oath to, give the people a better life, and every government should understand that you are coming into power to inherit both assets and liability. As much as I know that, at times some of them try to play the blame game, but for me, when a governor begins to speak as though they've reached their wit's end, it becomes a problem for me. Other nations of the world that we call developed countries, you hardly hear them talking about pray to God and all of that. In this country, I say most times that we are God conscious, but we are not godly. Every time we call God, how are you? We thank God. How is the economy? We put it in the hands of the Lord. Everything, even the things that you should do for yourself, you push all the responsibilities and give to God. Now, these leaders, they travel abroad, they go to Europe and America, and they see how things are done over there, but they fail to replicate it in our country, which means there is a deliberate attempt to further impoverish the people so that the people can continue to be slaves to them, while they become, the slave masters. And I know that one day, all these things will, get to an end. But when you make reference to what the current president said a couple of months ago, before the election, talking about reducing the purchasing power and all of that. See, politicians, especially in Africa, they don't have integrity. That's why even when you were saying it, I wasn't excited, because it's not even something that is coming new to me. They will say one thing in the morning and say another thing in the evening. There's a popular saying that your view of the road changes when you move from passenger seats to the driver's seat. So the current president now, for me, if he doesn't have the solutions to the problems of this country, he should just state it. I do not think it would be too early for him to throw in the towel and say, well, it wasn't what I expected, so let me just give up and allow a more capable ones to take over government. It won't be out of place. When you start blaming, giving excuses, trying to, the only message you are sending is, I don't even understand what governance is. Before it was packaged and presented to Nigerians, the popular accolades, what he was using as a push, what he was using as, a reason for people to vote him into government was that he single-handedly made Lagos what it is today. But obviously what we are seeing is a complete far cry, because even as at 1999 to 2007, when he was governor of Lagos State, the extent of development wasn't as big as what a lot of people feel it was, But Tinubu had the advantage of continuous, what I would call continuity, where he handed over government from he handed over government to a successor of his own political party, you know, Fashola came in, Fashola tried, Ambode came in. So there was a continuity in the extent of development. But when you want to allocate and give all the credit to one man, and that alone became the mantra, that alone became the singular reasons why, you know, a lot of Nigerians felt that he has all the solutions to Nigerians' problem. But here we are today. So by and large, I feel that, you see, instead of the people around the president, including the likes of the governor of Ekiti State, who happened to be his party man, instead of them trying to patronize him, instead of them trying to cover up the anomalies in this administration, I think the proper thing to do is to look him in the face and tell him the actual state of affairs. I'm sure the president is aware that people are protesting, people are crying of hunger. Even currently in Oyo State, you saw people came out en masse to protest the level of poverty and hunger in the land. You don't even have a penny. You cannot even fend for yourself and your family.
Isn't that reduction of purchasing power?
When you're talking about reduction of purchasing power, there are certain things that are meant to be put in place. These are not just theories that you just pull out from one economic book and just throw it on the people. Okay. There are indicators, there are foundations that needed to be laid, so that as you are reducing the purchasing power, you also make sure that there are essential commodities that, even if it's for the government to say, okay, we are putting palliative on those commodities, so that as you further reduce the purchasing power, the people will not feel much of the impact of whatever policy of government you are bringing to them. But when you just throw it on the people without recourse to those, foundational indicators, that people will not even feel the impact of whatever policy you are introducing for you that you think would make the economy better, then whatever you are doing now becomes counterproductive.
Okay. All right. Let's anchor on that a bit and then look at the statement of the president when he was national leader with the current reality, and then you can deduce whether he should be absolved of blame or not. Now, one of the ways to reduce purchasing power is through inflation, right? So now, purchasing power is reduced when people's income are not able to meet up with their normal expenditure, right? So let's say prior to this particular administration, before now, there was a time people could buy, let me use automobile for example. A liter of Toyota Corolla is 58 liters. So there was a time when fuel was 189 naira. With roughly 10,000 naira or 9,008, you filled your tank. But now, fuel is being sold for 750 naira, and in some places 800 naira. With over 35,000 naira, your tank is not yet filled up. Right. Now, a lot of people who would ordinarily fill their tank for a 10,000 naira, they fill their tank, they're on their way. Right now, unable to do that, because what it means invariably is that to fill your tank, you spend more than the wage award of a Nigerian. Of a Nigerian that earns minimum wage. So a full tank of Toyota Corolla is higher than wage award. So invariably, people that would normally fill their tanks for 10,000 naira cannot afford to fill their tanks again, because you're still earning the same amount of money while there is a hyperinflation on goods and commodities that ordinarily you would buy. Now, let's come down to electricity. The electricity tariff has increased. So whereas with roughly 10,000 naira, you can buy power for the month, right now with 25,000 naira, your power might not last 3 weeks, further reducing your purchasing power. Let us also come down to rice, which is a staple food in the country. Locally made rice You know, before you could buy locally made rice for 20,000 naira. Now, a bag of locally made rice is 77 to 78,000 naira. Prior to this time, you could buy a carton of, let's say, a crate of egg for 1,002. Right now, a crate of egg is 4,000 naira. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So what it means by implication is, a family runs on a budget of 100,000 naira a month previously, and that 100,000 they can sustain on it. Now, with the same 100,000 naira, you cannot sustain for 1 week in the country. Whereas in the previous administration or past two administrations, 100,000 naira can sustain you for 2 months. In the past administration, 100,000 can sustain you for 1 month, and now it cannot sustain you, or you're struggling to sustain for a week with 100,000 naira. That invariably has crushed the purchasing power of the people, thereby slowing down the economy. And this was what the president said when he was APC national leader last year, that he was suggesting to Osibanjo, slow down the economy by reducing the purchasing power of the people. Now the reality is on ground. Purchasing power has been reduced because of hyperinflation. And in view of this statement by the president when he was national leader of APC, Oyebanji is still coming to tell Nigerians that Tinubu has no hand in this. Rather, let us pray for him and let God take absolute control and take over the affairs of Nigeria. I ask you, Honorable Olaka, in view of this explanation, honestly, what do you think should be done at this point? Do you still think the president has no hand at all? Or do you think this was a blueprint the president had and he actually told Nigerians, but he was applauded? Perhaps Nigerians did not understand the implication of slowing down, reducing purchasing power.
Okay. The Ekiti State governor should have told us that maybe God is going to come down and become the president of Nigeria. Tinubu had earlier suggested what is happening now. But because he was not the president then, he couldn't make that happen. It has to be a suggestion or a comment made. And then today, it's already happening. I think the target is going to be manifesting as we approach 2027.
Why do you say so?
Yes, because Nigerians will be better used when they are hungry.
Okay, you're talking of weaponizing poverty.
Yes. So it's a deliberate attempt. I think it's a deliberate attempt by politicians. The president is a politician. The president is a political leader. And he's part of the strategy ahead of the 2023,
How does
2027
it benefit
election.
the economy?
What benefits the economy is not what benefits the politician. The economy can be whatever the economy is. And the pockets of the politicians can be saying something else. For instance, during the period where we were buying naira for naira, the government functionaries were not buying naira for naira. They had money. They had so much money that when they started talking about the need to change the currency, we started seeing video of currencies that old notes that cannot be used, or they piled up somewhere, and it wasn't maybe some of them because of cold or excess heat, so it's been destroyed. We saw those things. Who kept those money? The people who had access to the money, the top government officials. And so it's a deliberate attempt to keep Nigerians stranded. Yes, it's a deliberate attempt to keep Nigerians stranded. and then you position those who will serve like who play defensive midfield for you. And that's the role the Ekiti State Governor is playing now. Please let nobody attack the president. Please let nobody talk about the president. Let's just pray for him and give him time. Let's give him time, because in the statement he said, let's give him some time. May 29th, we are already close to, almost heading to May 29th, 1 year later after being sworn in. What time are we supposed to be giving the president? And so it is intentional. Now, I say intentional because you can see it already beginning to manifest. Because whatever the leader does, the followers will follow. In Ekiti State, the governor has said that. Come to River States. Are you aware that 2 Sundays ago, in River State here, the FCT minister, who is an ally to the president, the former governor of River State, did say that he can't wait for 2027 to come. That is as if the 2027 election is just around the corner, and that nobody can stand their way. Now, there is poverty in the land. There's high level of inflation. The purchasing power of the populace, of the citizens, are being reduced, and all of that. And what is important is the 2027 general election, which he can't wait for it to come. Don't you think? I was expecting that during that Thanksgiving ceremony, what the FCT minister should be talking about is a way forward on how, to bring about policies that can, sustain the Nigerian citizens, Rivers people. And so, and then for Nigerians, it's a pity because Nigerians are not aware yet, or they are not ready to let the president know that he is responsible for the situation of, as far as inflation is concerned, and then the resultant pay. Now, why I said that, when you hear that there are pockets of protests here and there, the protest is because the people are not supposed to, they are reacting to the hardship. A protest where you wait for someone to design T-shirt and face cap and give you, that's not supposed to be a protest.
That is sponsored.
Sponsored protest, where you are expecting that by the end of the protest, they will give you urgent 2K and urgent 5K to go home with. Nothing come up for the protest, I know they go. When Nigerians are ready, Ekiti State government, the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his ministers, including the Senate president, who sends prayer to mail bosses, all of them, they will understand that they should be responsible for Nigerians.
All right. Now, Mr. Mufasa, every policy has gestation period and maturation stage. Now, isn't the situation in the country a result of the maturation of all the policies being endorsed by the Buhari-led administration and the central bank of the then central bank director Emefiele? Because there were policies, according to President Tinubu, that are coming to play now that was taken then. Now, is Tinubu to be blamed for these policies that have matured now, and probably they are also instrumental to the economic crisis we are facing currently?
No, I won't want to, excuse me, want to start, laying blames. We have a president in power, and it behoves on the president to look at this whole situation and do something about it. I equally want to believe that before this president came into office, he fully understands the economic dynamics, both the gains and the losses that we've had in the past, 8 years before he became president. And when you are handed, when you are taking over government, documents will be handed over to you. Part of those documents was where he saw that subsidies, is no longer there. Immediately announced that subsidy is gone. And I equally don't want to believe that that was the first time he saw that, in that paper. So the president has full responsibility, you know, to get Nigerians out of the woods. There's no room for excuses. You don't just come and begin to say you did not know that this was how it was one APC government, another APC government, which means all the policies, both economic and you know and administrative policies of Buhari, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was aware. And part of the reasons why he was so much eager to come into office is to equally contribute his wealth of experience he claimed to have and his knowledge of economics that he claimed to, you know, he claimed to have to bear. But now it's as though he has completely lost it. So I don't want to say if he is to blame or not. The president should rise up to his responsibility. He should get his head off the cloud and stamp his foot on the ground. He shouldn't pay more attention to those praise singers, those sycophants. You know, he should pay more attention to the voices of the people, because whether they like it or not, they are there because the people want them to be there. You know, and if the people are saying that we are not getting the right kind of leadership, it is left for the president to adjust. You are talking about economics, and we have a president who claimed to have managed a lot of big companies. He was an accountant and all of that. So does it mean that these things, they just, like my colleague here said, they just intentionally don't want the people to live a better life? If that's the case, then we are in for a very long thing, because like we are talking about reduction in the purchasing power of the people, and you are removing subsidy. You've removed from petroleum products. They remove subsidy from electricity. They are still talking about removing of subsidy. And in an ideal situation, this is the best time to subsidize those essential commodities, because when there is a reduction in the purchasing power, which means even the much that you think you have in terms of money cannot even get you anything. And the government is busy removing subsidy. So how do you now want the people to survive? How do you want the people to stay alive? You're talking about 2027. Do you think there will be any 2027 if everybody dies, or maybe because of the situation there is a social unrest? Because gradually people are becoming, you know, fed up. People are becoming more agitated. And if these situations are not put under control, it could lead to something that the government may not even be able to control. It becomes chaotic. So now that it has gotten to that point of accentuation, that point where any little spark, it will ignite a huge inferno that I don't even want to imagine it. So the government of the day, both the president, both Biodun Oyebanji, who is a governor of a state, I'm sure the people of Ekiti State are not even getting the best of governance. I stand to be corrected. So he himself has a responsibility to provide quality leadership to his people. You know, so the president, the governor, local government chairman, this is a time to sit up. If it's for them to look the president in the face and say, these are the things that you are not doing well, so that we also as leaders in our own federating units can equally provide quality leadership. We're talking about agriculture. The presidency is telling state governors, but security is not there. You can't go to your farms. Okay. The people can't go to their farms to farm, and security is in the exclusive list of it. So these are the little things. I call it little things because it's not rocket science. Why are we not getting it right in this country? Because we don't have leadership with purpose and intention. Until we have that, we will continue to move around in circles. And I call it a case of motion without movement. Let us stop this unnecessary patronage. Let us be bold enough. Some of us voted for this president. I will not shy away from it. But what we are seeing today wasn't what we expected. And people should be bold enough, whether you like him before or not, whether you voted for him. This is the right time to call him to sit up. Because even if the thing is not feeling the impact directly, you have relatives who are not equally living with you in Aso Rock who also are feeling it. You have kinsmen, you have people in your community who are feeling it. So, please, President Muhammadu Buhari, Nigerians are begging and calling on you. There are things you need to put in place, but you're not putting it in place. Rather, you are chasing shadows. Right. This is not how we'll get this country working.
Okay. On to National Assembly. The House of Representatives Committee on the National Agency on Food, Drugs Administration and Control has ordered the suspension of the ban on the sale of spirits and alcoholic drinks in sachets and PET bottles. The suspension is pending the outcome of its investigation on the matter. Rep. Regina Akume, Chairman House Committee on NAFDAC, said this in Abuja after a public hearing on the ban of the product on Friday. She said there were proper steps to take before the ban, adding that there was a need to put access control procedures in place. This, she said, was to prevent children and youths from consuming the alcoholic contents of the sachets and PET bottles. She said the committee was entrusted with the essential responsibility and effectiveness of NAFDAC for the creation of employment and enhancing economic growth. She promised to reach a level playing ground between NAFDAC and manufacturers that would not be detrimental to children or public safety. So the Committee on NAFDAC has come out to suspend the efforts, the move of NAFDAC to ban sales of sachet drinks and alcoholic PET bottles. Do not forget that some week ago, NLC came out to protest that it cannot be banned. Now, they were speaking from the angle of employment, because banning this, the companies that manufacture this, banning the production of this, is automatically putting them out of business. And when they are put out of business, Nigerians lose their job. So the argument was, number one, the labor market is already overstretched, and you're pushing more persons into the labor market when you close down this business. Now, number two, they now talked about the timing. The timing is wrong because the country is facing economic crisis. And putting a ban on this, putting people out of jobs in this current economic crisis is very insensitive. But despite the protest and the calls by some stakeholders on NAFDAC to reconsider, NAFDAC has insisted on going ahead with it. And the argument is that, in face of the heightened drug abuse by youths and children, there is need to stop the production and sales of sachet alcoholic drinks and PET bottles. So this is a drama going on between these manufacturers, NAFDAC, and National Assembly, House of Rep has stepped in to stop NAFDAC from banning the sales of these drinks. Do you think this is an applaudable move by the House of Reps?
Yes. When I got the news of the move by NAFDAC to place a ban on these sachet drinks, it wasn't a good story to me. And then I took the stand with Labour when Labour protested against the ban. The reason was also very clear with what Labour said. We are having already challenges with employment. The economy is already biting. And there are people who sustain their families as even end users, as the last retailers in the chain of distribution. Whereas they are not able to get employment, they get themselves something to do, probably trade. The sachet drink are not originally, or in fact, they weren't made for children. And they weren't made to be abused. But the problem here is that we have an issue with implementation of our policies in Nigeria. NAFDAC is an arm of government and is an institution established to do due diligence to ensure issues that has to do with drugs and all of that are put under control. Outright ban shouldn't be the option that is available. Now, what percentage of children are the people who are accessing this drink? The street children or the well-groomed children? The children who are in school. What standard of school? Who are the parents of these children who have access to this drink? This is what we should be looking at. And so I want to, at least for once, applaud our lawmakers, members of the House of Reps, the National Assembly, for suspending that process of ban. Let NAFDAC go back to their orientation table and then see how, to give a proper orientation. If you want to do a feasibility study, you want to check, like I said, get to the street, and you find out that poverty is also and cannot be taken away from those who get involved in drug. Frustration. These are possible causes of why people take to drug. I also want to say, should you place a ban on sachet drinks? Is that the only hard drug that people, youths and children are having access to? No, of course. And so, whatever decision that NAFDAC is about to take or struggling to implement as it regards ban or placing a ban on such a drink, they should look at the economic implication and weigh it side by side. In this regard, the negative impact economically is more. And that's why both labor and other stakeholders are saying no. And I also think that's why the National Assembly has equally added their voice.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Mufasa, now, the National Assembly spoke about accessibility of these sachet alcoholic drinks and PET bottles. Now, they also told NAFDAC to go back and work on accessibility of these products to ensure that children and youth, and I guess talking about youth, underage youths, do not access these products. How possible is it going to be for NAFDAC to implement this limitation of access? These sachet drinks are being sold on the streets. You can access them in the supermarket, you can access them, the malam on the street sells them. It's accessible, it's everywhere. A child can come out to buy it and tell you that my mommy said you should give me this one and this one. And the malam wants to sell. Now, in developed climes, before you buy alcohol, you present your ID card in order to access alcoholic drinks. But in Nigeria, the story is different. How is the possibility of access limitation? How can it be implemented? Is it even possible?
Excuse me, is it even possible? I don't know. Perhaps it could be possible in the minds of the drafters of our policies, because you made reference to civilized crime. Whenever I use statements like that, I feel so ashamed, because it simply means that we have not even attained civilization. How do you tell who is an adult, who is underage? Is it by the look on the face? Because if you don't, if you do that, you'll be offending a lot of people. There are people who look youthful, who look very young, younger than their age. You can't tell how old a person is by merely looking at the person's face. Take a good look at yourself, for instance. You can see how sparkling, how youthful, and you know.
I definitely don't look
So of course. So now, assuming you know somebody who has attained that age, that universally accepted age of 18, that you have attained the age to have access to it, and you don't look it, so you could just get embarrassed. So until we have a workable database that when they ask you, can I see your ID? Let's know if you have attained the age of 18. That is when we can start talking about, you know, restricting or controlling access to alcohol. It's not. It shouldn't be restricted to sachet alone. That's the point I'm not even getting, because we are just operating as if we don't even understand how organized society operates. You are going to ban alcoholic beverage drinks in sachet. First of all, there is a reason why it was packaged in that particular container, so that those who cannot afford the big ones can go for the smaller ones. I'm not trying to rationalize, you know, the intake of alcohol, but for crying out loud, if you have the capacity, then you can handle it. Nobody should stop you from taking it. You know, alcoholic beverage drink is not hard drugs. Like what Honorable Alaka said, the underage kids are not even taking these things. What they are taking these days, you'll be marveled if you find out. It's not, you know, so it is not. It is as though they just want to, you know, remove the minds of Nigerians. You know, when you know serious people, Nigerians are talking about serious issues, about economics, about hardship, are talking about failure of leadership and government. You know, NAFDAC just pop up from nowhere and say that they've been contemplating these things since. That's what they said, that it has been in the drawing board. You know, so it is. The National Assembly, the House of Reps, you know, they have actually, you know, done the needful by saying that let us know certain parameters. The adults that are taking these things, if you stop them from taking it, have you thought of the backlash? Have you thought of now people will now be smuggling it? Have you thought of the advantage that some of these retailers who have, you know, huge number of it in their storehouses and you know, and their packing shops, what they popularly call it, they will certainly add money to it because it has now become contraband. So we have to be circumspect in our policies. Are you saying that because that one is in sachet, underage can now go for the bigger bottles? So if you see an underage going to buy the bigger bottle, it's okay for an underage to buy the bigger bottle? Because most of these young boys you see and girls you see today, they even have more access to finance and cash because of what the kind of funny things they do that give them money. So I am expecting NAFDAC, whose core mandate is to ensure that people consume things that are healthy to their health. That is the core mandate of NAFDAC. That what we are taking is quality. That is what NAFDAC should be interested in, the quality of drugs, the quality of food, the quality of water that Nigerians are consuming by the day. So for me, of course, I'm sure they will grandstand, but then again, you cannot go against the will of the people. They cited unemployment. Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, MAN, were the first to come out to say that this thing will not work. The army of unemployed youths that we have already, we have more people will be pushed to join them, and consider the adverse implication of what you are doing. This is not the time to go after you know, mundane issues.
Okay, let us look at the environmental angle of this whole issue, especially on the side of pollution. Now, the sachets that is being used to package this alcoholic beverages is actually non-biodegradable. So what happens is that the environment, the ecosystem is filled up with pure water sachets, is filled up with these sachets used to package the alcoholic drinks. When you look at the ecosystem, it appears that actually banning this product, banning the production or the packaging, let me use the word the packaging, banning the packaging of alcoholic drinks in sachets may be the right way to go if we need, if Nigeria is serious about salvaging the ecosystem, especially in view of the fact that the sachets, both for pure water and for the alcoholic drinks, are non-biodegradable. And even up until now, you know, the waste management agencies have not come up with clear-cut ways of taking away this non-biodegradable waste and recycling it into something that will be much more profitable. Honorable Olaka, what do you think should be done? Should the NAFDAC go for a different kind of packaging and branding?
Talking about the packaging or
yes,
the products, the effect of the sachet on the ecosystem.
Yes.
The problem is not completely the sachet itself, but I think it has to do with the lack of the people, lack of intention, people having the intention of doing the proper thing.
How do you mean?
That shouldn't even be the issue of how this sachet packets and all that affect our ecosystem. Shouldn't be more of the NAFDAC problem. It should be of the environmental agents and agencies. These persons are the people who are saddled with the responsibility of managing our environment, which comes with proper orientation to educate the users. Let's go for the sachet water. Water is a necessity that cannot, the importance cannot be overemphasized. Recall that if not for a few days that we started having some drops of rain here and there, the heat, I was beginning to wonder if the end time has actually come, if the hellfire that the Bible talks about has come. Because the volume of water I consume on a daily basis increased, and everybody around will always need water. Whether there's light or there's no light, you need at least room temperature water to get your system hydrated and then keep going. Now, when you drink this water, that has nothing to do with alcohol here now. So let's deal with that one. What do I do with it when I drink? I fling it on the road. Do I need NAFDAC? Do I need a police officer to come and start dragging me around? I don't need that. In Cross River State, the Canaan City, I had to live there some time ago. And look, even those who you think are insane would correct you. If you drop something, you'll see a little child or even an old woman would, my brother, please pick. You have to pick. The orientation was just at the fingertips of the citizens. And so at this point, the environment belongs to all of us. And so we do not need to wait for NAFDAC. Let me just keep them apart on this. Those who are handling our environment, the state government spends huge amount of money sustaining. I don't know if Riwama is still existing in River State. Let's use River State. During the time of Felix Obwa, when the former governor was holding sway, Riwama was working. I don't know which people are actually handling it now.
It's still Rwama.
But, so if it's still Rwama should get up and begin to do the needful. There should be waste being provided. The people should be given proper orientation. The people should be willing, because whatever affects the environment affects us as individuals. So it is we that generate this. So whether it is the sachet water or the sachet drinks, right now, the alcoholic, or whichever one, if it is properly disposed, if it is properly disposed, I think we wouldn't be having problem. Now, on the issue of recycling that product, all of these things can be put together and be recycled and for another use or proper use. And so we can actually make some money, get some earning from picking this. So the Ministry of Environment can come up with a workable idea where people should begin to go for some kind of benefits for bringing back the remains or the sachet package, the empty package. One of the brewery companies some time ago, when you open a bottle of drink, you will see something like a cup design in it. And so if you drink and you get a cup, they say if you are able to pick up to 10, bring it to the nearest distributor, agent, or outlet, and then you will win so and so item. That's now made people to be encouraged to. And then you see people moving around the street and picking.
That move wasn't necessarily to make people pick the cover. It was a
to
form
sell
of advertisement.
I'm coming.
It's an incentive to sell more.
I picked up that such an idea can be promoted. I mentioned the Ministry of Environment.
Okay.
The Ministry of Environment can come up with things like that. Incentives that would encourage the people. If you do this and do that in terms of trying to keep the environment, then you pick also number or quantity of this. Our agents will come and pick them. And then if we pick them and recycle them, we'll get to a point where we're going to do this for those who are regular compliance to this kind of activities. When the Minister of Environment does, they take it back. And of course, there should be a recycling plant. I don't know if River State has the recycling plant. It's a form of revenue generation program that can be put together. All of this can be an idea that could emanate from the Ministry of Environment.
But shouldn't the target be to completely eradicate this non-biodegradable waste?
Okay, now, if the target goes directly to the non-biodegradable, to eradicate them,
yes,
it therefore means that we're going to be having products that cannot, durability will be so shortened. You produce drink today, it has to be consumed today. Otherwise,
no. Let me break it down.
Okay.
Drinks are being packaged in Tetra packs.
Okay.
The last.
Yes.
Tetra packs like this packaging. Some of the
bags.
juices.
Okay.
The juices.
Okay. Yes.
used.
Yes. Yeah.
Then also drinks are being packaged in bottles as well. Now, if you use Aba Road going to when you decide to, let's say, go to Aba through Aba Port Harcourt Expressway, between the boundary between Abia State, River State and Abia State, there is a huge dump site, very humongous. Now, what you see littered all over those places, especially, is pure water sachets. Now, these are non-biodegradable waste in the sense that they do not degrade, they don't spoil, get rotten. In the next 50 years,
they're still there.
They are still there. They don't spoil. In the next 100 years, they are still there. That's why they are non-biodegradable.
I agree.
Right. So now, the question is, shouldn't governments look at complete eradication of non-biodegradable waste?
Government shouldn't look at completely eradicating.
Why?
Because they are still useful. Rather, we should improve on our technologies.
Okay.
That's why I called and I asked of recycling. Are there no recycling plants? You see people, this same sachet water bags that were dumped at that location. You could see a trailer load of it sometime being conveyed to somewhere. I don't even know where they're conveying to. But it means someone somewhere is doing some kind of production or recycling from there. I see people pack and they put them together, gather, and by the end of a particular time, when you get to a certain quantity, you see those who are responsible will come and load it in the trailer, and you see it moving on. It means that it is actually going somewhere as raw material for recycling and reproduction.
Okay.
So we should, because when that goes on, that's another means of employment and generating revenue for the people.
You're right. The federal government has vowed to go after economic saboteurs who are truncating its efforts in providing dividends of democracy and making life better for all Nigerians. This is according to a statement issued by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, and made available to newsmen on Friday in Abuja. He said, President Bola Tinubu, since his assumption of office, has made far-reaching decisions regarding his economic vision for Nigeria. It is instructive that the removal of the petrol subsidy was one policy decision that all the three major candidates were unanimous on in their 2023 campaign messaging. It is therefore mystifying to see people who had argued stridently for the removal now pretending to be against it today. This insincerity does not augur well for our country and our democracy, he said. Now, he's saying that the federal government is ready to counter and clamp down on economic saboteurs. First of all, is being an opposition, now by extension being a saboteur? If opposing or speaking your mind against certain policies of the government of the day, being very vociferous about it, does it make you a saboteur, or is that a very strong word to use for the opposition?
When I got an invite to this show, I did say I wouldn't want to go into political issues, but this topic is a bit political. This, if you ask me. So you people have been able to find a way to bring in little politics into our discussion, but that's fine. It shouldn't being an opposition shouldn't make you a saboteur or make you an enemy of the state, or shouldn't make you a new-found friend. In River State here, there is another name, not saboteur. They are your new-found friends. It's either they call those persons new-found friends, or they call them those who couldn't win election in their unit, or they call them those who lost election. That's the name. Now, what is the message that these people are bringing? What are they talking about? Is inconsequential as far as this set of persons are concerned. If I say, so filling station is selling fuel for 800 and it's not good, and what could be the reason for it, and then they first of all go back and look at my profile. Oh, he was the guy that contested for House of Assembly the other time and didn't win the election. Oh, he's an enemy. This guy was not, in fact, he was not with us now when we were campaigning for the president. So, he has nothing to offer. He's just Nabad Bele. That shouldn't be so. We all had reasons why we aspired for one, to get into one office or the other to represent the people and to give back to the society in governance. Some made it through by the ballot. Others did not. Now, we have a duty as Nigerians, whether opposition or not. The rain doesn't fall on anybody's roof alone. And so there is no need to begin to brand anyone as a saboteur because you are in opposition. Let me center around this. They have meaningful contributions to bring to the table. It behoves on those who have the baton to take out whatever is being suggested on the table and see how to implement. Come to think of it, opposition helps to bring out the best in any government or in any leader, if truly you are out to serve the people and do due diligence to why you are elected.
But then, Mr. Mufasa, a very important observation was raised. He said that during elections, the three candidates all agreed on removal of subsidy. Why is the opposition or the other parties or the other people who are now presently countering the decision of the federal government to remove subsidy, why are they fighting the same thing all of them unanimously agreed to do as at that time during the election campaign season?
Well, for me, that shouldn't be the concern of government. The government that, that has a plan to advance the fortune of the people. In a democratic setting, every government should be open to criticism. That you are calling your critics saboteurs, for me, is like using an hammer, or a hammer rather, to kill an ant. For me, it is something that even the people should be concerned about. Are they saying that the people shouldn't speak anymore? Whether opposition or not, this is a time for governance. We have gone past the era of politics. Okay? Whether the three frontliners, as they usually call it, whether they had the plans to remove the subsidy or not, for me, currently is inconsequential. What Nigerians are interested in is the proceeds. What are you using these proceeds for? We are told that before now that the Nigerian state has been spending billions of naira to pay for subsidy. Some call it a scam. And this government came into power and hurriedly announced to Nigerians that subsidy is gone, which means those monies that have been used to subsidize petroleum product for Nigerians has to be going for something that will be impactful to the people. Or we should be seeing where the money is being saved, so that when we ask you to show us our money and what it's being used for, you can account for it. But what we see today is a complete far cry. They told us that they've increased the allocation going to state governors and local, and for me that is the dumbest of idea that any government that has the intention to grow the economy, to grow your currency, that is the dumbest approach to advance your economic fortune. If these other persons were still in government, assuming that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu didn't get it, and perhaps one of the other contenders got it, and this country is facing what we are facing today, I'm sure the APC would have equally asked the same question. Why are we passing through this? So, the information minister, I'm sure, is just trying to do his job as the official mouthpiece of the government. And it's even making things worse because the people will continue to ask you, why are we passing through these difficult times? It wasn't what you promised. You promised Nigerians a renewed hope. But what we see today is more or less a hopeless situation. So when people begin to ask very valid questions, when people begin to criticize constructively, when people begin to demand accountability of their government, and you call them saboteurs, then I don't know what you will call Boko Harams and bandits and other criminal elements and kidnappers who are causing, miseries for Nigerians today. What would those people, if you call Nigerians who are demanding for their due and proper saboteurs, then Boko Haram and bandits and kidnappers, who are they? The people breaking pipelines and doing illegal minings in the bushes and forests, who are they? Let us not try to, compound issues just because we want to impress our principal or because we want to patronize our principal. Okay, subsidy is gone, good and fine. What has this government been doing with the billions? According to what a former CBN governor and Emir of Kano, Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, said, the dollars, the millions of dollars that was spent for subsidy, where are those money? Is equally an economic saboteur. Let us know where those monies have been going into. Are you not supposed to be using the proceeds that was kept aside, that was meant to be made for subsidy? Are you not supposed to be using those monies to industrialize this country? Are we not supposed to be seeing our refineries working already? Are we not supposed to see most of our moribund industries and steel companies and all? Are we not supposed to be seeing those things working already? These are the only way that you can strengthen your currency. These are the only way that you can give life to your economy. But rather what we see today is the blame game. We inherited a bad economy from Buhari. The opposition are sponsoring Nigerians to protest against the government. All these are barbadash. This government, like I've said before, should get their heads off the cloud and stop playing the ostrich.
Do you think that the way the government is going, according to the body language of the government by this statement, do you think that there is a possibility of clamp down on opposition, of possibly tagging the opposition?
But they are doing that already. They are tagging opposition elements as the people causing, the backwardness of the economy today. They've already started tagging opposition and Nigerians, calling them saboteurs. Okay? And talking about body language, Nigerians did not vote for body language. We want to see reactions being carried out by the government and its team, not body language. The president has stayed in office for more than 6 months. It's enough for people to start saying significant, tangible, viable economic policies that will point to the direction that we are heading somewhere. But obviously, it is a state of motion without movement. It's as though we are just moving around in circles. Still the old blame game, an APC government handing over to another APC government, and you are blaming your predecessor.
Okay.
Does that make any sense? And you are calling Nigerians who are criticizing your government because you are not showing capacity. You are calling them economic saboteurs. But let's just see how they will handle these economic saboteurs. And let us also hope that it does not aggravate the already tensed situation that we are in. If not, it will be chaotic.
Right. The federal government on Wednesday unveiled the first ever hotel at the main building of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Speaking at the unveiling of the hotel called Sami Court, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, said the management of the hotel has been a major stakeholder in the Nigeria's aviation sector for long, and the initiative was one of the contributions to the sector to improve passengers' comfort while on transit. He also said this is not just a one-off event. It is part of the new management drive and policy direction to collaborate with the private sector to improve passengers' comfort. The CEOs and other managers of the aviation sector are working hard behind the scene to attract private sector into investments in the airport and aviation sector. This is just one of the results. In the next few months to come, we will unveil more packages for you. This is part of the vigor that the new management team is bringing into the sector. Okay, so this one is by Festus Keyamo and his team, building a hotel at a subsidized rate, 15,000 naira per night, according to the news, for, yes, 15,000 naira for the comfort of travelers who are on transit. But first of all, do you think it's an applaudable move before I go further into my questions? Okay,
I don't know if I saw it well. I thought I saw 115K.
15,000 naira.
Yes. I don't know if
that was what you saw.
I don't know, but when I saw that,
yes,
I was about to applaud.
Mufasa, hold on. Mufasa, was it 115,000?
Oh, that's what it is.
That's what it's
standard. When you say standard, that's the lowest.
115,000 naira.
Exactly.
Okay, then I didn't say wrong.
I
was just hoping it was 15,000.
Yeah, standard. That 115 is standard, which means that's the cheapest
you can get.
I was about to applaud the initiative.
The
initiative until I saw the price. Because we know there will be issues sometime when you want to maybe delay flights, maybe the traffic, maybe you could miss your flight or distance to the airport. Yeah, I read that over. Go back again and you're going to see that. And so and then when I got the 115K, 115,000 naira standard price, I was like, then this is we're heading nowhere. This is a serious problem.
Isn't this a ripoff?
Indeed.
Now, okay, let's look at it from this perspective. Is the 115,000 naira price changes the dynamics of this whole thing? Now, should Festus Keyamo be more interested in building a luxury, seemingly unaffordable hotel for passengers on transit? Or should he focus more on making sure that passengers on transit do not get unduly delayed and spend more than their air flights, as the case may be, etiquette, as the case may be, on a hotel room?
But
what do you think?
For me, I really, I'm sure it's not owned completely by the government. I think it's a private. I think maybe it's a private, public-private partnership, and I'm also aware that the private investor has more stake. You know, but by and large, we are still looking at a situation where people can't even feed themselves, and there's nothing wrong in having a luxury hotel in the airport. I've no query about it. But what we are looking at is should that be the priority of government? You know, should that be the priority of government?
More revenue.
That shouldn't be the focus. That should be the primary focus, because that is an elitist. We are projecting an elitist system, like we are interested in the elites.
Servicing only the elites.
You know, so that shouldn't even be the priority of government. Investors can build a hotel and peg it at any amount. It's for those who can afford it, you know. But when you begin to see government officials, you know, trying to identify with things with luxury, that goes to show where our priority lies as a people. You know,
as a people, as a government.
Well, governments represent the people. When you say people, invariably you're talking about the government, because there cannot be we can't have a government without the people. You know, so for me, the government of the day should not be seen identifying with such luxury. If you are, as an investor, you have so much money to invest in the hospitality business, and you cite a luxury hotel at the airport, good and fine. You pay for advertisement. You know, assuming you are calling for one of the agents, or maybe as the Minister for Aviation, and as a stakeholder in that sector, you call him to come and unveil. He can even excuse himself and send somebody there, because one, what we are passing through currently is not a time to begin to flaunt this kind of luxury and rub it on the face of Nigerians. How many people can afford such, you know, such luxury?
No, the question is...
So conclusively, I think we should invest more. I think we should invest more on other sector of the economy. This is not like what the Rivers State government is doing when you are building low-cost houses. Of course, the recently 25,000 housing units, even though it's government-private partnership, you know that it's a low-cost housing. It's something that civil servant can come, pay small and leave it. But this is a hotel, for crying out loud. So it is not something that we should come outside and begin to celebrate, especially now. So if the government wants to even want to attract investors, we should look at some other, aspects, some other ventures that will have direct bearing on low-income earners, on the ordinary Nigerian, not trying to service the elites, like you rightly put. We are just playing an elitist card, and it's further annoys the people.
Yeah. Honorable Olaka, now, since this is a government project, because Festus Kayamo is making us understand that it is a government project. Since it's a government project, shouldn't the price of this hotel rooms, shouldn't it be subsidized? Because now I'm wondering if the hotel could be pegged at the least room could be pegged at 115,000 naira, per night, right? What would be the cost of food? What would be the cost of water in that hotel? Now, since the government is unveiling this and Festus Keyamo is telling Nigerians that, oh, this is a government investment, shouldn't the price be subsidized quickly?
Well, the average Nigerian will not even want to hear the word subsidy anymore, because subsidizing anything has cost us more harm than good. And so requesting for subsidy, for me, should be out of it. It's a public-private partnership, because some investors came in and did that, and the government has something to do with it. Rather, I'll suggest, since we are now comfortable with owning hotels at the airport, or building hotels by the airport, which means instead of moving, we should sleep and have comfort.
So why not work on the late flights?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There should have been working on whatever is supposed to keep people stranded, because you have to wait. Something must have kept you to think of booking a hotel. Naturally, you should be on your way for your business, whatever is taking you out and whatever is bringing you in. This is quite high. Other investors should come in and their prices should be reduced. In an event where the government, when it becomes competitive, the price would certainly come down. And away from that, I don't actually subscribe to the fact that should be there, but all things cannot be equal. And so there should be some complementing infrastructures around the airport. Okay? So the government should make available an opportunity for some competition around that hotel, because the price is quite high for hospitality's sake. And then, optimally, there shouldn't be delayed flights. Whatever it is that causes the delays or the cancellation and all of that, except the natural occurrences like the weather and all of that,
Nigerians shouldn't have to pay.
We shouldn't have to come and start paying daily, because the cost of air tickets right now is not something we should be discussing now even. When we come to that, we all know what is happening.
Of course.
But try to go to Port Harcourt Airport to Abuja and see the cost now.
Of course.
All right.
Now, the price of Nigerians' popular instant noodle, Indomie, surged to 17,500 naira to 18,000 naira per carton. That is the 120-gram super pack, from 11,140 naira on February 13, 2024, correspondent reports. A market survey on Saturday in Wuse, Dutse and Utaku markets shows that prices of Indomie increased by 38.1% in 2 weeks. The new price is 12,500, 60% increment compared to the 6,000 naira per carton it was sold for in February last year. Further analysis showed that a single pack of Indomie Super Pack was sold for 500 naira from 350 naira 2 weeks ago, while another brand of noodles went for 450 naira. The implication is that a Nigerian earning 30,000 naira minimum wage would have to spend 18,500 to get a carton of noodles. Recall that the National Bureau of Statistics showed that food inflation soared to 35.42% in January. Isn't this disheartening, Mr. Mufasa? What's the way forward? Because it appears that this hyperinflation is not coming down anytime soon. What is the way forward? At this point, shouldn't there be a kind of board that will regulate prices in the market? Can the board even successfully do this when dollar volatility keeps coming on and going down? CBN keeps changing import duties. A lot of things are unstable in the country right now.
You said it all now. How do you regulate price when cost of production is going up? How can you achieve that? You're talking about noodles. It's for those people who even eat noodles. You're talking about gari. You're talking about salt. You're talking about pepper. You're talking about onion. You know, these are staple food that ordinary. I don't even want to dwell so much on noodles because
noodles is one food children eat.
No, of course.
They can actually cook it without pepper, without onions, without all of these garnishes.
You're talking about kids in urban centers. I'm sure the people living in Bakana, and Thai, and Sakbenwa and the rest. I'm not sure they eat noodles. You know what they're interested in is gari and all of those things. Even as they live in the rural areas where they're supposed to grow these things, the cost is going higher by the day. There was one stuff I saw on the net where somebody was actually saying that you go to the market today, in the morning the cost of something you buy it goes up in the evening. You know, that one is on a regular basis. So is it just noodles that you want the government to intervene, or you want the government to intervene? Above all is there is something wrong with our economy. There's something wrong with government policies. There's something wrong with our approach. And the government should sit down and review everything. Look at what they are not doing rightly. It's not rocket science that somebody buys a carton of noodles for 8,000 naira just yesterday. Today goes to the market, that same carton of noodles is 12,000 naira. You know, you go to the market and buy baby milk for 2,000 naira today. You go to the same market, that same quality, that same size, you go, they'll tell you it's 4,000 naira. Now you begin to wonder how a family of 7, a family of 8, how do they manage to survive? And you know, everything keeps going worse, and the government is not even tackling the issue. They're talking about sachet drink. It's so unfortunate. So for me, it's not for the government to come out to say you want to regulate prices. They tried it for cement and it's not working. You know, they tried it, but it's not working. The best thing for the government to do is to see why are the prices surging? Because they will tell you, manufacturers will tell you cost of production, traders will tell you cost of transportation. So it's a chain reaction, and it amounts to how technical this government is to be able to tackle the rise in the price of almost all the essential commodities. And it's quite unfortunate.
All right.
Okay, just quickly to add to that, a quick one. You see, beyond what government should do, I also think that greed on the part of Nigerians is one major problem we're having. People get themselves into a union of retailers and begin to, for whatever reason, try to run down the country. These are some of the real saboteurs. And they tell us, and then they call themselves. Let me not use a particular word here. Otherwise, if I use such word, you simply just get what I'm trying to put through. Price don't change. Imagine you be in a shop to buy a product, and then you pick the products you're holding and it tells you it's 500 naira, and the madam comes in and calls the name of the person, the sales boy, and say, no, please, so price has changed. Mufasa, don't sell, that thing is an old price. How can you be telling him old price? It's 700 naira now, it's not 500. You say, sorry, Oga, I don't know. I have sent the message to your WhatsApp, you didn't see it. I'm sorry, sir. Sir, please, the price is now 700. I say, what? It's already 500, I have paid. Oga, if they pay or you know they pay. And you either have to pay or you drop that item and go. This item, this particular item has been in the shelf for maybe the past 1 week or the past 1 month. And then the person comes up to justify himself by telling you, when I will go back to the market, if I sell at 500, I can't buy again in the markets when I want to go and restock.
But that's the reality.
And that's the reality. Now, who is in the markets where you're going to buy? Who is in the other markets where you're going to buy? And so at some point, you may be forced to agree with me that the greed on the part of Nigerians is also part of the reason for the inflation and the hike in price, whereas he has treated the government aspects. And so when government has failed, the Nigerian people are also taking advantage of the failed governance, and not knowing that we're also, shooting ourselves on the foot. There are certain things that we can do not to allow the inflation, like this morning price, afternoon price, and evening price, for God's sake. Do you produce, the manufacturers, how do they produce, and how often do you return to the market for a particular product to be rolled out in the chain of production?
Okay, let's look at the Nigerian situation that you mentioned right now. Now, if I'm a retailer and I bought a particular item at, say, 500 naira and I'm selling for 550 naira or 600 as the case may be, and then I get a call from my supplier telling me that the price of that item at the point of buying from the supplier has increased from the 500 naira to 600 naira, which I am selling in my shop. Do you advise me to still sell that item at 500, knowing that by the time I exhaust that old stock, I will have to use both my capital and all my profits to go and buy at the new rates?
Okay.
That's one reality, right? That's one reality. So how practical is that? Because the SMEs are also struggling. Now, when you come down to, let's say, foodstuff in the markets, now the argument has always been, how is dollar affecting the price of gari? How is dollar affecting beans and all of that? Now, dollar affected the price of petrol.
Yeah.
Removal of subsidy also affected the price of petrol. Now, Nigeria is suffering infrastructural deficit seriously. So now, the market woman who would ordinarily pay 500, less than 100 naira for transport, will now have to pay 300 naira for the same distance in transportation, and now pay additional charges for transporting her goods to the market.
Agreed.
Now, the same woman is also living in the country that is hyperinflated. So she buys or she produces herself. For some people too, let's say those into agriculture like poultry and feed, the cost of chicken feed is high. For some into mechanized agriculture, the cost of fertilizer is high. So when they produce at that local level, for some of them, even firewood has increased.
Sure.
Charcoal has increased. So they also have to produce. They also have to buy fertilizer. They have to take transportation to whatever markets they are going to sell. So don't you think it has a boomerang effect? Are Nigerians truly to blame?
That's what I'm saying. That whereas the government have the part of the blame for not doing the needful, for not taking the right policies and doing the right thing, standards, price regulation, and all of that policies, and making them very realistic. I am of the opinion that the Nigerian citizens are equally parts of the inflation. The reason is we have now decided to, because of greed on our parts, we want to take advantage of the failed system by the government to amass wealth, thinking we're going to. And then now, the super pack we're talking about, the noodle, the one we're calling 500, the what we popularly call hungry man size. This report,
that's bigger.
Yes, this report is 13th, supposed to be 13th February or something. The last report you read. As at yesterday, hungry man size is 700 naira in some shops and 800 in some shops.
Okay, for one pack.
For one pack. Now, why I say Nigerians are adding up to the already existing pain is that the rate at which we do this inflation is as though, now you buy fuel today for 800, you sell something for 500 naira. Tomorrow you still buy at 800, you increase it to 600. Next tomorrow, in a week, you are still buying fuel for 800. And then the price of the commodity that was 500 keeps going up.
You're right.
That's where the problem comes.
Okay.
At that point, we are shooting ourselves in the foot.
Okay, Mr. Mufasa, quickly, what do you have to say?
No, well, I partially agree with him. Partially, when he says Nigerians are actually taking advantage of situation to exploit themselves, fellow Nigerians. But let us look at what is actually fueling the greed and that advantage. That is where government comes into, the picture. If we have a government that is particularly concerned about how this economy should favor all and sundry, I'm not sure the man in the market will want to reference certain factor to begin to increase the price. So the buck stops at the table of the government. If you want this price to reduce drastically, if you want to have a controlled price, whereas you cannot go to this place and I'll tell you 15,000, you go to this place, they tell you 12,000. So there's a way we can tailor our economic, structure in such a way that the price will be uniform, the price will be controlled. There will be no need for these prices to go up. And the only way we can do that as a government and as a people is to ensure that from the raw materials down to the currency and all of that, we look into these things and see how to remedy it. If we don't do so, we'll become perpetual complainants. So for me, lastly, government should be alive to their responsibility.
Right.
The people shouldn't be blamed for anything. If government, if they are responsible and responsive, will not be experiencing what we are experiencing today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mufasa, for being a guest.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you so much, Honorable Olaka.
Thank you,
it's a pleasure.
Marisha. Thank you, Atlantic Television.
All right, this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Sunday. Do not forget you can always stay connected to us on all Atlantic Television Network socials, on Twitter, atlantictv.net, on YouTube and Facebook, Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Do not forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching. Open Air Consult shortly. I am Ugu Laurentia Choma. Don't go away.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions,